Now, The Hunt Palmer Show. You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Looking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Monday. It means we're brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products. Hope your weekend was a good one and hope you're not working today. Some of us enjoying some time off, some of us on the grind as usual. Either way, appreciate you for hanging out with us on this Monday. Got Jacob Beck and Casey Gaines back there on the ones and twos. In 30 minutes, Koki Riley from The Advocate is going to chat with us. Koki, new at The Advocate, has spent some time in the newspaper game here in South Louisiana, but with The Advocate covering LSU baseball. And if you were unaware, LSU baseball begins practice today in defense of their 2023 national championship. Koki had a chance to sit down with Jay Johnson for an extended Q&A last week. It was published there at The Advocate, and I wanted to get his thoughts on the baseball team as we start things over there at Alex Box Stadium. We're going to chat with Matthew Bruny at 2 o'clock. We'll talk LSU basketball, both men's and women's with him. Both, I didn't even realize this looking at the schedule, we're both at Auburn over the weekend. The men fall on Saturday afternoon, and the women lose on Sunday afternoon in a tight one late. So that's actually where we'll start before we get to some NFL football over the weekend. LSU men's basketball loses at Auburn 93-78. Look, this was a 16-point spread. As I look at this schedule and I understand where teams in the SEC are and where LSU is currently, there are two on this schedule that I just don't think are winnable. They weren't going to win at Auburn, and they're not going to go to Knoxville and win. That's 2 games out of the 16 that I could just put a Sharpie next to. That's how I feel. If they want to go prove me wrong in Knoxville, I'm all for it. But as I look at the schedule, I don't think they're winning in Tuscaloosa. I don't love their chances of going on the road to some of these venues in the league and winning. I don't think that they're going to be a favorite when Kentucky comes here. But as I look at the schedule of the 18 games, 2 of them at Auburn and at Tennessee, I think are nightmares. And I don't know if nightmare is the adequate word to describe what we saw on Saturday, but certainly the final score was a 15-point win for Auburn. Auburn had an 11-0 run early in the game. Late in the first half. 11-0 run from the 6:23 mark to 1:57, and that's basically expected when you get into that gym. They're just going to have some spurts that can bring you to your knees, and it never got to like 19-1 or because we've seen that in Auburn, but they did stretch that lead to 17 at the half. In the first half, Auburn shot 50% from the floor, 50% from 3, and went 16 of 19 from the free throw line in the first half while only turning the ball over 4 times. It was just a carving station on the Plains. LSU had no answer for anything Auburn was doing offensively in the first half. And in the second half, the lead immediately swells to 22, and then it gets all the way up to 28 with 11:37 to play. Now, you can look at this any way you want. You can say that from the 11:37 mark down inside of 5 minutes that LSU fought and scrapped and clawed to get right back in the game. And you would be right. And you could say that, well, you were down 30 with 11 minutes to go and the home team maybe took their foot off the gas. I don't really care how you look at it. It doesn't really matter. Fact of the matter is that LSU was down 30 with 11:37 to play. Now, Will Baker has a 3 in the air with 4 minutes and 45 seconds to go in the game that would have cut it to 6. LSU trimmed it to 9, and Baker got a good look at a 3, and he missed it. So at 4.5 minutes to go in the game, it goes immediately from potentially 6. Auburn hits a 3 to make it 12, and when you're down 12 at that point, it was pretty much over. In this game, as I look at the box score, the obvious thing that stands out is that LSU turned it over 17 times to Auburn's 8. And Auburn made LSU pay for that. Auburn had 26 points off of LSU's 17 turnovers, and that's not an acceptable way to win basketball games on the road. Jalen Cook committed 5 turnovers. Trey Hannibal committed 4 turnovers. Those are your 2 primary ball handlers, Jalen Cook first and foremost, and then Hannibal comes off the bench and helps you there. They turned it over 9 times in the game. As I mentioned, Auburn only turned it over 8 times. So that's not going to get it done. On the plus side, I did think that Will Baker acquitted himself pretty nicely on the road against Janai Broome in a good Auburn front court. If Will Baker is going to be a non-factor, it's going to be really tough for LSU to win games. Like, you had to have Jalen Cook go for 28 points against Vandy to win. You had to have A&M have an atrocious shooting performance with no second chance points in College Station. Like, some other things can go your way if Baker in the front court is kind of a non-factor, but a lot does have to go your way. And for Baker to go out in that game, score 13 points, pull down 10 rebounds, and battle with Janai Broome, who finished the game with 18 points and 7 rebounds, I thought was fairly encouraging. Hopefully he can continue to make some steps for this specific team. And I did like that Tyrell Ward knocked down 4 threes, 4 of his 7 threes he made. LSU had a pretty good three-point shooting day. They were 9 of 23. I said they needed to make 10 threes to even have a chance. They did not do that. They got to 9, though. And I said they needed to get to the free throw line and limit their turnovers. They did not limit the turnovers, and they got beat at the free throw line. 27 of 31 for Auburn, and LSU 19 of 25, so an 8-point disparity there. That's kind of it. So for me, as I look at the game, and I kind of deduce what it is that I will from this performance, one, I don't think they are going to win that game. I think if LSU and Auburn play in that arena 10 times, that Auburn probably wins all 10 games. That's how I feel. Maybe it's 9, but I feel like it's probably 10. They're a lot better than LSU. It's a great home field advantage. They've got a great coach, and I just don't think that LSU is going to win that game maybe ever. So you start there, and then it's hard to be grossly disappointed with a 15-point loss when you consider that as a starting point. However, it disappoints me a little bit that Jalen Cook turned it over 5 times and was 3 of 8 from the floor and scored 7 points. He's got to be the best player. He's got to be the guy. And it disappoints me that LSU turned the ball over 17 times. I know Auburn's active. I know it's a tough place to play, but this is something that we went over on Friday. Jalen Cook's a 4th-year college player. Jordan Wright is a 4th-year college player. Will Baker's a 5th-year college player. Derek Fountain's a 4th-year college player. Trey Hannibal is a 5th-year college player. And Wani Wilkinson is a 4th-year college player. Like, these are old dudes that should not be overwhelmed in that atmosphere. And maybe they weren't overwhelmed. Maybe Auburn's just that much better. But I'd prefer it if they not turn the ball over 17 times in the game. Show some poise. Show some composure. Make the correct play. Use your fundamentals. I mean, some of these turnovers are good plays by Auburn, getting their hands in passing lanes and being aggressive and being aware defensive players. But some of them are just ridiculous. Trey Hannibal had one where he's just trying to hand the ball off, and he just kind of loses it, and Auburn runs the other way with it. Just stuff like that. It's just going to be really hard to win games if you make plays like that. So I don't like giving up 51 points in the first half. I don't like giving up 93 points in the game. I don't like the turnovers. I don't like the fact that Auburn got to the free throw line so easily. All those are negatives. If you want to go to the positive side and look at Baker and look at Ward and then say, hey, they're down 30-ish, 28, and cut it all the way down to 9 with a 3 in the air with 4 to go, that's fine too. My gut, as I put a bow on this thing in totality, is, I don't really care about that one. It just chalk that one up to an L. And when they go to Knoxville in a couple of weeks, that's the same way I'll feel. I'll watch it. I'll pull for them. My expectation will be none. And you show me a team that, let me look at the schedule. Let's just go game by game. So next up is a home game against Ole Miss. They're well coached. They've got more talent than they had under Kermit, but you ought to be able to play that one head up at home. Same thing with A&M coming in here. You go to Georgia, You'll be a dog, and Georgia's playing better under Mike White this year, but you ought to be competitive there. Go to Tuscaloosa, that could get away from you. Arkansas comes here, you ought to play them head up. At Tennessee, we've talked about that. Bama comes here, going to be very difficult. At Florida, going to be very difficult. At South Carolina, their record's good. How good are they? I don't know. But you probably ought to go over there and be competitive. Kentucky comes here. It's a team that's a lot more talented than you. But Mississippi State coming in here, you ought to play them head up. Georgia coming here, ought to play them head up. You go to Vanderbilt, you ought to be able to win that game. At Arkansas, home Missouri. So you see, like, I'm not trying to diminish ever paying attention to the final score with this team, because there are plenty of games that I think you ought to be right in. At Auburn's just not really one of them. And I'm not surprised they were down 28, and I'm not surprised they lost by 15. I can nitpick at plays here or there, or stats here or there, and say, I wish that didn't happen. I wish it wasn't that way. But the fact of the matter is that that's just not one I have any expectation for. There are 10 others moving forward on this schedule that I do. And those will be the ones that I have harsher judgment for, whether that's on the positive side or the negative side. I just can't conjure up a bunch of emotions or hot takes on a top 25 Auburn team whose offensive and defensive efficiencies are both in the top 10 in the country and say, God, you couldn't stay within 15 of them? Well, probably not. But that's kind of where we are. So again, next one up is Ole Miss, and that's here. And they're a really good defensive team. You'll recognize some names on that roster. Musa Cisse, certainly one of them. Brandon Murray, certainly one of them. We've got a couple of holdovers and returning guys they brought in. And it's probably a better product than what Kermit put out there the last few years, because Chris Beard's a really, really good coach. But it's at home, and you ought to be able to play with them. So we'll gear up to that one on Wednesday at 6 o'clock in the PMAC. All right, still got a lot to get to here on this Monday edition, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products. Shout out to our guy, Trey Beal, and the folks over at Gulf Coast Office Products, gcopnet.com, gcopnet.com for all your printer and copier needs. Gulf Coast Office Products has got you covered. They bring you our Monday shows each and every week. Chat with Koki Riley on some baseball here in 15 minutes. When we come back, I do want to talk about the NFL weekend that was and taking water bottles out of refrigerators in the stadium. Let's do that next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electric. It's going to be real cold coming up the next couple of nights. Sometimes we get those winter storm events that can knock your power out. More often it's the summer, those afternoon thunder showers, or, of course, hurricanes. But winter storms happen around here, too. You can give yourself the peace of mind that comes with a Generac generator from Boudreaux's Electric. You're not going to lose power. They'll be sure of it. They'll install that generator at your home using the finest coppers, wiring, and tubing. They're going to do most of the installation underground so that generator is aesthetically pleasing on the outside of your house. And for just $5.90 per day for the 10-year warranty that comes free with that Generac generator, you get the peace of mind of knowing my power's not going to go out. I'm going to have a warm home. In the summer, I'm going to have an air-conditioned home. Boudreaux's Electric has that Generac generator that can help you with all of that. The number is 225-300-9389. 225-300-9389. That's Boudreaux's Electric.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Bayou Ford is taking $10,000 off MSRP on new 23 Ford F-150 lifted trucks. $10,000 off new Ford F-150 and 3.9% financing. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered.
On Tuesday's OTB, we'll recap Monday night's playoff games as well as the Pels Mavs, plus the latest out of the unceasing college football news cycle and a brand new OTB mailbag. Off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hope you're having a great Monday out there. Hope the week's off to a great start, whether you're working or not. A lot of our building here celebrating the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday. Show must go on, though, so it will. We'll chat with Koki Riley coming up here in 15 minutes. NFL football, most of it got played over the weekend. Still 2 to go. One coming up here in 2 hours from Buffalo. And the nightcap tonight over in Tampa. But we started things off on Saturday with the Browns and the Texans. I confidently gave you the Browns minus the 2 points back on Friday. They lost by almost 30. 45-14 the final. The Texans and C.J. Stroud scored more points against Cleveland than anybody had all year. Stroud was fantastic in the game. 16 of 21, 274 yards, and 3 touchdowns for Houston. And it's one of those deals where it all matters, right? You can't necessarily just change 2 of the variables and judge the outcome. But does it feel like the Panthers made a huge mistake at Bryce Young? You don't know. Maybe if Bryce Young goes into that situation in Houston as opposed to the disaster that was Carolina, where the owner's making crazy decisions and the coaches are getting fired every 15 minutes, and it's just unstable there. Maybe that has something to do with the fact that Bryce Young had a poor first year. And maybe the fact that Houston's brought in D'Amico Ryans and has a tough defense and a little more stable organization, maybe that's helped C.J. Stroud to an extent. But it just feels like the Panthers have made a big mistake. And if you're a Saints fan out there listening, you're going, thank God. But that's what it feels like. You know, Cleveland defied every odd to get into the playoffs. I mean, I gave you the stats on Friday, but they started 5 quarterbacks this year and made the playoffs. They won the turnover battle twice in 17 games. and made the playoffs. They were the second most penalized team in the NFL and made the playoffs because that defense was so good. And Houston just diced them up. Right down the field time and time and time again. Fantastic effort by C.J. Stroud. Then the nightcap, which admittedly I did not watch. I was at a wedding. But I don't really care about the 26-7 score as much as I care about the videos that were on social media from Arrowhead. I mean, have y'all seen this video where the concessions worker goes to the refrigerator behind him or her? The person's not in the video, just a big glove and arm, but grabs the water bottle out of the fridge and holds it. And as the person is holding the water, it just freezes from the top down, like right in front of your eyes. In 25 seconds, the water freezes. You had people opening beers in the seats, and the foam that would come out would just freeze on the top of the beer. Kaylee Hartung, who was doing the sidelines at this game, put on Instagram all of the different articles of clothing she was wearing. She was basically a walk-in Academy Sports and Outdoors. It was ridiculous, all the stuff she had to put on to stand down there for the whole game.
Patrick Mahomes' helmet literally cracking.
Yeah. I mean, as somebody tweeted out, they were like, it feels like if it's too cold for the safety equipment to be used, it's probably too cold to play the game.
I mean, you think about it. If he got hit, I mean, he got hit pretty hard there and it cracked his helmet. But imagine if someone like went helmet to helmet, the helmets might shatter completely.
I do believe this. I believe in humanity. I believe in intelligence reigning supreme. I don't think anybody believes that that's actually football weather. If you want to tell me the Bears fans like it when it's 36 and the wind's blowing, like, I disagree, but I understand that that's like part of where you grew up and where you come from. I don't think anybody wants to be out there when the wind chill's negative 26. Like, I really think everybody's like, this kind of sucks. But I did ask my wife, who just loves Taylor Swift. I said, would you go sit through 4 quarters of that football game if I promised you got a picture of Taylor Swift after the game? She said, absolutely. Absolutely.
The Swifties are just the most dedicated people in the world.
They brainwashed would be another word.
That's also, yeah.
Yeah,
say that
so
too.
I could tell something was up when we were driving home yesterday from Shreveport. And my wife was letting me listen to whatever I wanted to on the. I just knew. She was like, "What do you want to listen to?" She was like playing songs back to back to back that I liked, and I could tell something was coming. And we got right south of Alexandria. And she goes, "All right, we're listening to Taylor now." She was giving me like 90 minutes there, and then she was going to take it the rest of the way, and she did. But that's just the way it goes. Look, Chiefs beat the Dolphins 26-7. Is it a shocker to anybody that the Dolphins' high flying, fast paced offense went up to a tundra and couldn't play? Not me. Like, Tua's from Hawaii and Tuscaloosa and Miami. He's not going to go up there and sling it around. Mahomes got it done. Pacheco got 24 carries. It was the story from that game is the weather and the ridiculousness more so than the outcome. I thought Miami had a really good team this year, and I think if that game's played in Miami, it's just a different football game. I'm not telling you that they would definitely win, but the weather, as I said on Friday, like, it just bums me out. Like, if I'm a fan of one of those teams that everything you've built up to and worked for to that moment, in my opinion, is compromised by humanity's ability to function when it's 27 degrees below zero. But it is what it is, and the Chiefs are moving on once again. Yesterday's action, to me, was more interesting than Saturday's. The Cowboys give up 48 points and lose 48-32 on their home field. And I realize the easy thing to do, and maybe the right thing to do, but definitely the easy thing to do would be to say, man, McCarthy sucks. Don't extend Dak. Blow it up, Cowboys. That's pathetic. And I get that line of thinking. But can I just be a little bit devil's advocate here? Can I just maybe try to see the other side of this equation? Like, Dallas doesn't give up 50 points ever. Dan Quinn is a great defensive coach. He's got great players. They've been good for 2 years straight, really 3, winning 12 games. And this goes back to, and I push back against this forever, about how you're going to tell me that Paul Mainieri is really good at being one of the top 8 teams in the country for 56 games over 16 weeks, yet somehow can't win a regional or super regional. I just don't buy that. I think if you can put a great product on the field over time, that you should react to that, to the 17 weeks before you do the 4 quarters, even though those matter the most. Because to me, it'd be really difficult to be great for 17 weeks and be very good at that, but not know how to do it for 4 hours in the playoffs. But this was pathetic by Dallas. I mean, Matt LaFleur is scheming up plays for Jordan Love, and he's got guys running so wide open, there aren't any white jerseys in the screen. That second half touchdown where Love pivots out of the play action and flicks it up to the tight end down the right sideline, there's just nobody there in a silver helmet. Not one. I mean, it was a clinic by the Packers. 27-0 late in the second quarter before the Cowboys scored in the last play of the half. And then they come out and score 14 more in the third. Like, Dallas just had no answer. Dak had bad turnovers. And what I'm going to assume is that Jerry's going to react to this one way or another. There are big, big names floating out there. Harbaugh, Belichick, Vrabel. And I just don't think Jerry at this age is going to sit there, pour another Johnny Walker Blue Label, and enjoy his Monday. Like, I just don't think that's going to happen. I think he's going to do something. And whether that's fire McCarthy and immediately go for one of these coaches, or whether that's make a decision on Dak. It feels like they need to stay the course with Dak because he's a really good quarterback. But the playoff success is just not there. And again, I think it's so easy to go, well, he just sucks in the playoffs, get rid of him. I'm just more programmed to go, how are you really good, really productive, and win a ton of games between September and January, but you're not as good in the playoffs? And if you want to suggest, hey, they beat all the terrible teams they played, and they stepped up in class, and they're just not as good, well, that I can start to get on track with. You tell me they beat the Giants and the Jets and the Patriots. They beat the Panthers and Washington. But they did beat Detroit. They beat Philly. They beat the Rams. Got smoked by Green Bay on Sunday. It's just an odd thing, and I know many of you are celebrating that as anti-Cowboy folks around here. And then you had the nightcap, which I thought was the best game of the weekend, obviously. Lions and Rams. I just felt really good for the Detroit fans. I'm pretty lucky in the sports world. LSU football is among the elite program-wise. LSU baseball is the bluest of blue bloods. The Cubs have won a world championship very recently and had a really good run there up from 15 through 22, 15 through 21. And LSU basketball's made a Final Four. They won the SEC a couple of years ago. They've made the tournament a few times in my lifetime. Like, my teams, generally speaking, when they go out there and play, it's been pretty good, and I've seen the highest of highs. You're a Lions fan. You just hadn't seen squat. They have not won a playoff game since 1991. And for Jared Goff to do that against a team that cast him out, I saw Dan Campbell, you're good enough for bleep in Detroit, and that's what he should say, and that's what they should do, and it's a great moment in the locker room. But, you know, as we sit back and analyze it, well, LA decided to make that move, and they brought Matt Stafford in and won the Super Bowl. So I don't think they're regretting it too much. But for Jared Goff to have that in Detroit, in front of that fan base that was so fired up and so ready to go, had a great environment, and they finish it off and get that 1-point win. It was fun to watch. It was cool to see. And I'm pulling for the Lions to make a little run here. I mocked Dan Campbell on these airwaves for that ridiculous press conference he gave when he got the job. Going to bite off another kneecap, and you'll knock us down, and then we'll bite off another kneecap and throw another punch. And like, that whole thing sounded ridiculous to me. But he's put a good staff around him. They've made some really shrewd drafting decisions, and they have a good team. and they played very well last night and got it done against Los Angeles, and I thought that was cool to watch. So I'll be pulling for them moving forward. That's your look at the NFL over the weekend. Still got a couple more games to look ahead to today. 3:30 kickoff up in Buffalo. Temperatures around 13, 15 degrees. Then they'll play in Tampa, and I think most of the country, including those of us in Louisiana where it's going to be cold, are going to be looking at Tampa and go, ooh, that looks nice, because the cold weather hasn't gotten there yet. It's going to be in the 60s when they kick it off between Philly and the Buccaneers a little bit later tonight. Let's shift our gears to baseball. They're starting practice out at Alex Box Stadium today. The new beat writer over The Advocate is Koki Riley. He joins us next.
The Hunt Palmer Show. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $20,000 off new 23 Ram 1500 Black Widow trucks, $20,000 off new Ram 1500 trucks, and all new Bayou Automotive vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Or even built your own. Now are you finding out that you're doing more administration than actual law practice? Lexicon can help. Lexicon is a legal technology provider with over a decade of experience streamlining administrative tasks like timekeeping, billing, and more, so you can focus on maximizing billable hours and increasing client satisfaction. Call 855-4LEXICON or visit lexiconservices.com/go to learn more.
Glow Resources, complete employer solutions. GlowResources.com.
You can hear all of your favorite shows on 1045 ESPN in crystal clear high definition. Tune to 98.1 and select HD2.
Griff Jonas for the Tuesday edition of Live at Lunch. We're at Doe's Eat Place on Government Street in Mid-City. We're taking a look at the NFL playoffs, wrapping up the wild card weekend, and Andy Isco joins us from Vegas. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. weekdays on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Monday show is brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products. All your printer copier needs, they got you covered at Gulf Coast Office Products. Just having lunch with Trey Beal last week and talking about how, sometimes people do business with the local mom and pop, and that's often great, but sometimes it's a real small operation. You can get great service there, but can they handle your needs? Never know. Sometimes you do business with a big national corporation. They got all the resources possible, but do they have the ability to service you personally? Or is it going to be a situation where you're just a client number and they get to you when they get to you? The great thing about Gulf Coast Office Products and Trey Beal is that they're right in the middle of that. They've got the personal relationships down here in South Louisiana, same-day service on your copiers and printers. You can always get Trey Beal on the phone. And also, they've got enough size where there's not a job too big in this area that they can't handle. It's Gulf Coast Office Products, GCOPnet.com, GCOPnet.com. Got flexible leasing structures for your printer and copier needs. Just hit them up at GCOPnet.com. Gulf Coast Office Products, bringing you our Monday shows here on the Hunt Palmer Show. As I mentioned, NFL football to come today. They've got the one that was postponed yesterday. I'm glad that humanity decided to do that. I guess the snow just simply wasn't going to allow it in Buffalo yesterday, but they'll play the Steelers at 3:30 on CBS from Orchard Park. And then tonight on 7:15 on ESPN and ABC, the Eagles and Buccaneers. We'll kind of break those games down a little bit later. Because I've got my thoughts on who I think will take this. It's a nice little MLK day. You got some college basketball on. You got some NBA basketball that's on. The Pelicans are in action, and then the late cap this evening is going to be the NFL with a couple playoff games. We round out the wild card round, a divisional action coming your way. I think divisional action next week is the best week in the NFL calendar. I think that's kind of what it feels like. So we'll get to some of that. Matthew Bruny is going to be with us in 25 minutes talking some LSU hoops, but I did want to spend a little time on LSU baseball today. Koki Riley, new beat writer over at the Advocate, although he's been on the LSU baseball beat for a couple of years. Sat down with LSU head baseball coach Jay Johnson last week, published a long Q&A at the Advocate. He joins us now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Koki, how are you, sir?
Doing great. How's it going?
Going quite well. I'm curious, you had a chance to sit down with Coach Johnson for a good bit before the practice grind starts today, and they get ready to defend a national championship. Any different, Jay Johnson, now that he's got some extra hardware?
No, it's the same old Jay Johnson. Just trying to grind his way to another potential national championship and sticking to the plan and staying very focused in that kind of football day-to-day grind mentality. So yeah, same old Jay Johnson, and I think he's tried to, instill that sort of attitude and mentality into his team.
Let's talk about pitching first, because that's obviously the most important thing. Paul Skeens moves on. Thatcher Hurd was so good down the stretch, and then bringing a couple of transfers in Gage Jump and Luke Holman. And it sounds like from the Q&A that you had that he anticipates those three guys likely the first three out in the starting rotation.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. It's Holman, Jump, and Thatcher Hurd as the top three guys, but I wouldn't be surprised if one of them gets hurt or one of them doesn't perform up to tip-top standards that, they have the depth to go in and guys who are at least candidates to fill a spot, Griffith Herring being one, Nate Ackenhausen being other. I think those two guys are going to have pretty big roles on this team, whether it's as a starter or as a reliever. And then there's a bunch of other guys who are extremely talented, might not have the experience, but at least have, the potential ceiling to be a starter at least someday at LSU. You think of a guy like Cam Johnson, as one of those sort of guys. So, they just have a lot more depth than they had last year, really top to bottom when it comes to pitching, whether it's left-handed, especially with left-handed pitching. You have to feel good if you're an LSU fan when it comes to the pitching with this team.
What do you think about Thatcher Hurd potentially on Friday nights?
If they can, wrinkle out some of the, early season inconsistencies he had last season, I think he's definitely like a strong option for it. For me, it's either him or Holman, and it's kind of a coin flip between those two. Hurd, when he's at his best, is one of the best pitchers in the country, as we've seen, but he's had some lows. And then with Luke Holman, he was one of the best starting pitchers in the SEC last season. So he's definitely a guy who would be at the top in almost every team's rotation. So, I think they have two pretty good options for that top spot at the very least.
What did Coach Johnson say when you mentioned Cam Johnson? You had just talked briefly. You mentioned his name there in that first answer. But what do you think about the freshman's role?
Yeah, I think he's going to be like a premier reliever for this team at the very least. He's a big left-handed pitcher, 6'4", go 90 up to 97 miles per hour with the fastball, can probably sit in the mid-90s. And he's also working on, creating greater bite with his slider. And I had a conversation with him last week, actually. And then we ran a story on him today about why he chose LSU over the MLB draft. And I know that was a big surprise for a lot of LSU fans, the fact that, this kid who was a projected first-round pick actually ended up coming to school instead of signing with a team. And we really went into like the nitty-gritty of what went into the decision, what made it so hard, the financials, all that sort of stuff. So that's up on the Advocate right now. But with Cam as a pitcher, I think he likes working with Coach Yesty a lot. And he's doing a lot of work with his breaking ball and, improve his ability to hold runners on base, which is something a lot of freshmen need a lot of work on when they get up to this level. And it seems like he's really responded to that well.
Two guys that were linchpins of the 2023 recruiting class, maybe 2022. I get my years confused with baseball. Either way, they're the guys that are going to be sophomores this year, second-year players. I'm talking about Chase Shores and Jaden Newt. We did not see Jaden Newt at all last year. Chase Shores was a big-time bullpen option for LSU, obviously goes out in the Tennessee weekend and never returns. You mentioned those two guys in the Q&A with Jay Johnson. Can you expect anything from either of them?
I think Jaden Newt, what they're hoping with him is that he comes back by late March, early April. That's the timeline that Jay told me. And then with Chase Shores, it would be after that. Shores, I wouldn't be surprised at all if they just sat him for this entire season, made sure he was 100% for 2025, because he is a guy who could be who has the potential to be a Friday, Saturday night starter next season. He has that. He was a starter at the beginning for the team that won the national championship at the start of the year last season. So it kind of tells you how much talent he has. His fastball gets up to 99, 100 miles an hour from the right side. He's 6'8" and kind of like the perfect size and build for a top of the rotation starter, not just in college baseball, but potentially in professional baseball too. So he's a guy you need to be careful with. But with Newt, as you mentioned, he's already sat out for an entire season. This guy was the number one pitcher in California coming out of high school. He's extremely talented, even if there's a red shirt tag across his name. I think he's a guy who could certainly help out this team a bit at the end of this season, and depending on how he pitches, he's a guy who's definitely a candidate to start next year.
Koki Riley is our guest, baseball beat reporter over at The Advocate covering LSU. Offensively, I want to start first, well, maybe defensively, but on that side of things. What does the catcher spot shake out like?
Yeah, that's a good question because they got three pretty good options and two emergency options. I think Brady Neal is probably going to get at least half of the reps there, maybe a little bit more than half. I think Travinsky, who's obviously catcher, is going to be more of the DH this season. That's the gist I got from Jay. And if you just look at the roster, that's what makes the most sense for him and for the team. But I think Brady gets the slight majority reps just because he was the starter last season, even as a true freshman, and they want to get him as many at-bats as humanly possible. And that's not to say that Alex isn't going to play a lot. Like Alex Milazzo, who obviously was a key piece of last year's team, really good defensive player. He's going to play a ton for this team. Like, I think they're going to do a decent job of rotating between at least those two guys, if not those three guys. And I think they're going to try to get Brady as many at-bats as possible because of the injury issues he had last season. He had his summer league cut short because his back injury sort of flared up again. And of course he was out for pretty much the entire second half of last season. So, it sounded like from when I spoke with Jay, he said they're going to try him at second base, at third base, in the outfield a little bit, get him some more reps there, and just give him some more defensive flexibility to give this team more options. And that's kind of like a theme with the positional players this year. A lot of guys are trying to create more flexibility with, whether it's moving Josh Pearson to second base, whether it's all the stuff that Jake Brown can do, playing first, playing the outfield. Being a pitcher, potential left-handed pitcher for them. That kid's just a freshman. And then Ethan Fry can play first base. He can play the outfield. He can catch in an emergency situation. So they just have a lot of versatile pieces, and I think Brady's going to be one of those guys. So I could see him playing some second base, and maybe some third base if Tommy needs a breather, or if he's the DH one day, and maybe even a corner outfield spot because they got one corner outfield spot that's kind of up in the air right now. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this all shakes out.
Last one here, Koki. We appreciate your time here on this Monday. You mentioned Tommy White. Any reason to believe he won't be ready to go when they start things up?
No, he should be ready, barring any sort of as long as there's no setbacks. He's already hitting, he's already throwing, and looks like he's on the right track. Coming back from that shoulder injury, and he might be a little bit rusty to start the season. I wouldn't be surprised if that happened, just because he didn't really get a lot of off-season reps, and seeing pitches and whatnot. Even though they did do some dry runs with him, just him standing in the batter's box and watching pitches go by. But at the same time, it doesn't really replicate those kind of live reps, right? So. I wouldn't be surprised if he's a little rusty to start the season, but I think I would be. I mean, as long as everything goes to plan from now until the beginning of the season, he should be ready to play.
Koki, we appreciate some time. We'll do it again soon. Thanks, man.
Awesome. Thanks so much, hon.
He's Koki Riley with The Advocate. We'll be talking to Koki weekly coming up during baseball season as he takes over that beat over at The Advocate. So, as you can imagine, I'm pretty excited to get things cranked up over at Alex Box Stadium. They start practice today. Sounds like they may not practice tomorrow. And if that is the case, I'm going to try to pull some strings and see if we can't get a player or two over here to hang out with us and talk a little bit as they get ready to defend the national championship over there at the Box. Plenty to get to. We got to close out hour number 1 next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Elevate brand visibility, ignite customer engagement with the power of radio and digital advertising combined. Guarantee Digital Media brings the two together as a trusted media partner in Louisiana for nearly a century. Claim your free digital audit at guaranteemedia.com.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $20,000 off new 23 Ram 1500 Black Widow trucks, $20,000 off new Ram 1500 trucks, and all new Bayou Automotive vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Bayou Ford is taking $10,000 off MSRP on new 23 Ford F-150 lifted trucks. $10,000 off new Ford F-150 and 3.9% financing. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps are held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
The motivation I needed to live healthier. My new favorite sport.
I found my groove.
I found I'm part fish.
My second win when I needed it most.
I found more than a gym.
The affordable childcare this mom needed. Time for myself. We found our why.
Have you found yours?
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net. Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Monday's AFR, presented by Relief Windows. We'll have the latest as Brian Kelly continues to fill out his staff and reaction from Tuscaloosa as Kalen DeBoer is the new head coach of the Tide. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
So we'll close up hour number 1 here on this Monday, presented by Gulf Coast Office Products. I've got a list here. The NFL quarterbacks, so it's all 32 teams. Whoever attempted the most passes for a team is ranked, so there's not 2 from one team. Every team's represented 1 quarterback, 1 through 32. Quarterback rating for this season. Where do you think Derek Carr ranks?
In all 32 teams. I'll say 15th.
Derek Carr 9th on this list, in front of Jordan Love, in front of Baker Mayfield, in front of Justin Herbert, in front of Patrick Mahomes, in front of Matt Stafford, in front of Josh Allen, in front of Joe Burrow. Derek Carr 9th on this list. The top of the list in front of Carr, Goff is 8, Russell Wilson 7, C.J. Stroud 6, Tua Tagovailoa 5, Lamar Jackson at 4, Kirk Cousins at 3, only played 8 games this year, Dak Prescott at number 2, and Brock Purdy at number 1. That surprise you at all?
Not, I guess the way Carr finished the season, that is. I'm not terribly surprised. I did think it would be closer to the middle, though. I am surprised he's in the top 10.
There's 2 ways to look at it. I think he did play much better over the last month. When the Saints won 4 of 5, he was better. Now, how much of that is because he and Pete Carmichael got in a better rhythm? How much of that is because he wasn't injured? How much of that was they played some just awful teams? There's a lot of ingredients to all of this. And there's a piece of it that is Derek Carr playing better. There's a piece of it of Derek Carr being healthier. There's a piece of it is that he was throwing for a bunch of yards late in games when they were down 30 points. He lit it up late in the game against Houston. He lit it up late in the game against Jacksonville. He lit it up late in one of the games. They got down against the Rams. He lit it up. So there's some of that too. But I'm confident there's a lot of that for a lot of the guys on here. What you've got in Derek Carr is a very, very, very much league average quarterback. What you've got around him is a beat-up offensive line not playing to its potential, an aging running back room, unless Kendre Miller gets out there, and a defense that is aging big time. And so all those ingredients put together, I think, paint a bleaker picture. If this roster looked like San Francisco's roster, then Derek Carr probably is a division championship level quarterback because you're so good everywhere else. But you're not. And that's the trouble with this whole thing, is that the Saints are a sum of their parts, and their parts are a little beat up and aging. But you don't have to worry about the Saints in the playoffs anymore. Move forward without them. We'll come back after Sports Center. When we do, we'll chat with Matthew Bruny, talk some hoops. You're listening to a Hunt Palmer Show.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
The importance of doing this fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance shops, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. And I think we're rocking and rolling.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. Crews continuing to work on clearing the seats, walkways, and tunnels at Highmark Stadium as we edge closer to a 4:30 Eastern kickoff for the AFC wildcard game between the Bills and Steelers. Lake effects no doubt more than 2 feet on suburban Orchard Park over the weekend. Is this the end of the road for Cowboys coach Mike McCarthy after coming up short again in the postseason? Owner Jerry Jones did not tip his hand about any potential moves after the embarrassing Packers loss. McCarthy, 3 straight 12-win seasons, but only 1 playoff win in that span. He's not the only one Dallas needs to part ways with, believes ESPN's Dan Orlovsky.
Dak, McCarthy, and Dan Quinn, I would get rid of. And I understand it's absurd. And could we get worse? Yes. It's going to be hard to find a quarterback that is going to play at MVP level. But in the last 3 playoff losses, he's got 5 interceptions and 10 picks.
USC quarterback, potential top overall pick, Caleb Williams will enter the NFL draft. NBA 76ers leading the Rockets 88-71 third quarter, 33 points for Joel Embiid, back after missing the last 3 games with left knee soreness.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Candy, coming up Tuesday. I'll tell you how good the next Bears quarterback needs to be to justify passing on C.J. Stroud. It's unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to something quite extraordinary?
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour number 2, Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Mondays brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products, GCOPnet.com, GCOPnet.com. 1 more hour to go here on this Monday. We kick things off with Matthew Bruny from the Bengal Tiger, part of the On3 Network. He joins us on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Matthew, how are you, sir?
Hey, Hunt. I'm doing well. Busy weekend, obviously, and just getting into the week now.
A lot of bad news for LSU basketball out of Auburn and Neville Arena Saturday and Sunday. Let's start with Sunday, Matthew, with the ladies who had not lost since their season opening loss to Colorado, but couldn't get it done there on the Plains. What was the biggest storyline for you from that game yesterday?
Yeah, it was definitely a rough go for them. I think the main takeaway for me was the offense, actually, which is surprising considering how well they played the first 3 games of conference play. I thought Auburn was able to take them out of a lot of what they wanted to do. I thought you saw the limitations of the point guard position for them and just ball handling in general, with Haley Van Lith struggling, with Michaela Williams struggling, and then the limitations of last year Poa. So, yeah, I was a little not put off, but just it wasn't the showing offensively that I was expecting. Even though we knew Auburn was another good defensive team, so in the span of 7 days, you played 3 top 15 defenses in the country, and eventually that just, I think, wore on the team.
Last possession for the Tigers. They're down 2, clock dwindling away, and they run a clear out, 4 out, give it to Angel Reese to go 1-on-1. What was your reaction when you saw it? And then obviously she ended up turning the basketball over.
Yeah, when it was happening, I was very surprised, and she was kind of dribbling the clock out, and I was like, you have to go fast because you got to, if you miss, you got the foul, you got to get off the rebound and so on. But yeah, I was surprised. I didn't really think it was a good idea. I thought they had a timeout, and so I thought they could have used that. But I feel like at that point, Mulkey was really tired of watching her guards just not be able to handle the ball. And she said that after the game. which I can understand, but I feel like there's still a better way to go about it than just give her the ball at half court and say go score when there's still no spacing. There's still no real way of her getting to the rim comfortably. So yeah, I didn't love the possession, but I think Kim was kind of just tired of what she's seen all game.
Any cause for concern for the Lady Tigers right now, or this is just part of a long season?
I think it's part of a long season. I think we know what this team's upside is. I think we know what the team's potential is as far as their ability to score the ball. But I do think there are limitations now with the injury to Samaya Smith, with Kateri Poole getting dismissed from the team. They have really no depth on the roster right now beyond the starting five. So those five have to be on it every single game, and if they're not, the team's going to be in trouble. Like we saw, they can't get off to these slow starts where they're being inefficient and they're not guarding anybody. So I think this team isn't as well rounded as last year's team, but the ultimate goal will be getting to an above average defense and just letting the star power kind of carry you.
Matthew Bruny's our guest, part of the Bengal Tiger over on 3 with Shea Dixon and Billy Embody. We're talking basketball with Matthew. LSU's men went to Auburn and weren't quite as competitive there with a really, really good Auburn team in a tough environment. I was talking about this game at the top of my show, and I said you can kind of look at it any way you want. They got down 28. They had a 3 in the air to cut it to 6 with 4.5 minutes to go. Would you say that's because they fought, scrapped, and clawed and played a lot better, or because Auburn maybe took their foot off the gas after getting up 30 points?
Yeah, I mean, I want to give credit to Trey Hannibal, first of all. I thought he kind of led this charge of them coming back. Tyrell Ward hit a couple threes, as we know, and I thought that second unit kind of did a really good job of fighting till the end. At the same time, though, Auburn, I think, started settling just a lot. We saw in the second quarter, late in the first half, them pull away because they just kept relentlessly attacking the rim, and LSU couldn't really keep them in front. And in the second half, they kind of got away from that. So I think Bruce Pearl will notice that on tape. But yeah, I think they deserve some credit for coming back. But ultimately, the game ended about what it was, a 20-point loss, basically.
The turnovers were bad on Saturday. What did you see in LSU's continuing turn the ball over and giving Auburn points on the other end?
Yeah, I think the most disappointing one was Jalen Cook, who you kind of hope was a little bit more tighter with the ball. Really tough go for him. I think this is obviously one of the best defenses that he's seen, but just the way that Auburn plays and it being on the road, I don't want to diminish that fact as well. Playing on the road at Auburn is one of the toughest places in the country to play. So once things start snowballing, it kind of gets out of hand. So we know Jalen Cook has a lot on his plate. And if he's not playing well, I think we've seen it throughout his 5-6 games. If he's not playing well, then it kind of just looks like the team that was without him for the first half of the season. So they need him to play well. They need to get him in better spots, and he has to execute.
What about the defense? Obviously, giving up that many points, 50 in the first half, is not a great look.
Yeah, it was early in the season. I said the defense side of the ball was going to be a big concern. Will Baker, kind of Jalen Cook. They don't have terrific defenders. I think Mike Williams, the freshman point guard, is a plus defender. I think Jordan Wright has his moments of being a good defender. But ultimately, Auburn is too deep, too big, too strong. They just kept driving them, kept getting to the rim, kept getting to the free throw line. And then I think they came out the gates shooting the ball pretty well, if my memory serves. So, yeah, it's a tough game. I don't want to take too much out of it because I expected them to lose by 15 plus.
Yep.
But now it gets to a really interesting point in the schedule where the next 3 games are going to kind of decide, is this a team that can fight for the middle of the pack, or are they going to fall off?
What do you think?
Yeah, they got Ole Miss and A&M at home this week, and then Georgia on the road. Those are the next 3 games. I think you almost have to go 2-1 in that stretch if you're going to be serious about being a top, 8 team in the conference or a top 9 team in the conference and potentially making the NCAA tournament. You got to go 2-1. I've said that if they're going to make the NCAA tournament, they have to at least go 9-9 in conference. And obviously, with that being the goal, I think you have to win 2 of the next 3. So Do I think they'll win 2 out of 3? Oh, I think
I don't,
think
but
that-
you can say whatever it is you want.
I don't think so. I think Ole Miss is pretty solid, and I think A&M's going to get bounced back. I think A&M's better than the team that lost to LSU at home.
Yeah.
So I don't think they win 2 out of 3, but that's what they're going to need if they're going to want to punch into the top half.
Yeah, even maybe found something in that game against Kentucky. I wouldn't imagine they're going to be terrible all conference long. It's just a tough start for that team. So last question. Will Baker in the game against Auburn, facing a pretty good front court and Janai Broome, I thought acquitted himself okay after really kind of scuffling through December and into early January. Is there a chance that they can get a little bit more out of him?
Yeah, I agree with you. This was a big showing for him. I didn't expect him to play very well. I thought that was a tough matchup for him, but you kind of saw him play with a little bit of an edge, which was refreshing to see, honestly. He had that stretch in the first half where he scored like 5 straight points and was getting in his bag in the post. I think they're going to need him to be more efficient because I think over the past 9 games, he was shooting like 40% from the field. So yeah, they definitely need more from him. And because as much as I like Hunter Dean and Jalen Reed or Damian Collins, ultimately Will Baker is the 5th-year senior that's going to have to score the ball for LSU.
Matthew Bruny with the Bengal Tiger joining us here on the Hunt Palmer Show. Matthew, thanks for the time, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Hunt.
You can check those guys out over at the Bengal Tiger on 3. It's Shea Dixon, Billy Embody. They're all over the transfer portal and LSU hiring coaches and all that goes into that. The transfer portal still swirling up in Seattle, Washington, down in Tuscaloosa. There's still lots going on. They're all over it. And then Matthew does a great job on the team side of things, breaking down both men's and women's basketball. So if either one of those is of interest to you, check them out over there on the Bengal Tiger, part of the On 3 network. Our Monday show is brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products, GCOPnet.com, GCOPnet.com. Shout out to our guy, Trey Beal, who's president over there at Gulf Coast Office Products, but also could be your rep if you're in the market for some copiers and printers. When we come back, I'll get you ready for the NFL action today. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
BRAC teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. BRAC, your #1 park system in the nation.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Hey, look what I found!
The motivation I needed to live healthier.
My new favorite sport.
I found my groove.
I found I'm part fish.
My second win when I needed it most.
I found more than a gym.
The affordable childcare this mom needed.
Time for myself.
We found our why.
Have you found yours?
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event.
On Tuesday's OTB, we'll recap Monday night's playoff games as well as the Pels Mavs, plus the latest out of the unceasing college football news cycle and a brand new OTB mailbag. Off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
I was 2-2 on NFL playoff picks over the weekend. I thought, like the Browns, even laying the 2 points on the road, that tough defense going to get after Houston. Well, they lost by 29, so that did not cover. I did like the Dolphins and the points on Saturday. Look, going to be a cold weather game. I just don't want to. I think it's going to be tight because I just don't think it's going to be high-scoring affair. Well, they lost by 19. So that didn't cover. But I liked the Packers and Jordan Love getting some points. They covered. And I liked the Rams getting points, and they covered. Just didn't trust the Lions. So the Lions did win, but I covered. So that's 2-2. 2 losses Saturday, 2 wins on Sunday. So we move to today's action to see we can get home. I already gave you my Steelers-Bills pick because we thought that game was going to be on Sunday. So I liked the Bills -10 then. I like the Bills -10 now. Buffalo has played well of late. Joe Brady's kind of in that Joe Sloan situation where you've got a talented group and you're kind of auditioning for the job after the offensive coordinator moved on. In Buffalo, Ken Dorsey was fired, and Baton Rouge, Mike Denbrock took the Notre Dame job. But Joe Brady got a really good quarterback and talented offense with Diggs and Cook. And Pittsburgh, to me, I just don't believe in this Pittsburgh team at all. Mike Tomlin, once again, figured out a way to make this team a 10-win football team. And, they win their last 3 to get there. I thought, the win over Cincinnati, I'm not going to give you too much credit for because Burrow's not there, but you go to Seattle and win that game. That was very impressive. And then you beat Baltimore without most of their players playing, Lamar Jackson certainly included. But they did get in. Just forgive me for not jumping on board with Mason Rudolph and no TJ Watt in this Steelers team. 10 points is a lot in a playoff game, but I just can't possibly, in Buffalo, take Pittsburgh. Buffalo is like 20-3 or 17-3 in playoff games in Buffalo since 1970. There's a part of me that thinks a little bit of that is because of the weather, and they're just a little bit more used to it than teams are going to play. Not that it's real balmy this time of year in Pittsburgh, but over that amount of time with that many different players and variables for the stadium to be a consistent and the weather to be a consistent, maybe there's something to it. I know that Bills fans will think this is great weather today. As we look at the temperature, it looks like it is currently about 18. So better than yesterday. The one thing that concerns me about this game, not from a betting perspective, just in general, everybody else in the NFL has got those heating coils under the field to thaw it out, which they had in Kansas City. They don't have those in Buffalo. They're going to put them in the new stadium, which is also going to be outdoors, which is nuts. But that field is going to be frozen. I mean, it's been under freezing for like 4 or 5 days there in Buffalo. I'm going to be real comfy on my couch this afternoon while those guys are getting tackled onto a frozen football field. That sounds so bad. But again, I just don't think Pittsburgh's very good. And you take the defensive player of the year off that defense and send them up there to play the Bills. I'll lay the 10 points. I know it's a lot. I'll lay them. Philly and Tampa is interesting. I was listening to the national ESPN feed a little earlier. Fanatical guy who's going to be either way overly pessimistic or way overly optimistic. I think he's a pretty reasonable guy. He's a big stats guy. He's big into objectivity in terms of stats. I don't find him to be in line with Joe Fan. I think he's pretty reputable in that way. And he was saying that a lot of the nation is betting Philadelphia in this game, and I'll use air quotes here, because they think the Eagles are good, or they still think the Eagles are good. Certainly the Eagles were good last year. Certainly the Eagles got off to a great start. They were 10-1. But Himbo's under the belief that they're not good anymore. And when you look at their results down the stretch, it would be hard to argue otherwise. This is a team that has lost 5 of 6, and the one win was a 1-score win in Philly over the Giants. They got hammered by San Francisco, 42-19 in Philly. They got hammered at Dallas by 20. They lost at Seattle by a field goal. Then they beat the Giants, like I said. Then they got beat by Arizona in Philly before the game to end the year at the Giants, where they lose that game and Marcus Mariota's playing. The defense has been so bad for Philly. Gave up 42 to San Francisco, 33 to Dallas. Gave up 25 to the Giants, then 35 to Arizona, and then 27 more to the Giants. And Jalen Hurts and this offense just haven't been great. He threw for 197 at Dallas. He threw for 143 in Seattle. He threw for 167 against the Cardinals. They just haven't been as dynamic. And then you take A.J. Brown out of the equation. This is not the Philly team that went to the Super Bowl last year. This is not the Philly team that was 10-1. But how good is Tampa? Y'all watched them. They looked pretty good in the Dome early in the season. But it's Jekyll and Hyde with this Baker Mayfield team, as you would expect. And that's the NFC South in a nutshell. It's a division of mediocrity and inconsistent play. I mean, at one point, this Tampa team lost 6 of 7 in the middle of the year. And then, to finish the season, they win 5 of 6. Now, 2 of those were against Carolina, but they did go to Green Bay and win, and they did crush Jacksonville, who was in free fall. This one's hard to handicap for me because you've got a tale of 2 teams. Now, the practical guy in me says, well, Tampa's been good of late and the Eagles have been terrible of late, and Tampa's at home and Tampa's getting points. Give me Tampa. Playing better, at home, getting points, no brainer. But then there's the part of me that's looking at this going, well, Vegas is a lot smarter than you, Hunt Palmer. Like, they know a lot more than you, and they want you on Tampa. They're not going to get me on Tampa. I'm on Philly. I'm out. I'm thinking this one all the way through. I'm out in front of you, Vegas. You shaking in your boots now? Mr. 2-2 in the NFL playoffs? Mr. Oh, by the way, went 2 games over 500, betting every SEC game this year. When I say betting, I mean putting my picks on the airwaves for $0. I'm taking Philly. I'm laying the points on the road, and we'll see. I see every other reason to go with Tampa other than the fact that I just am assuming they know better than I do. I'm curious, Citizens Bank and Trust poll question of the day. Saints fans, are you interested in the Buccaneers playoff run? Like, I want to know, like, if you're an LSU football fan, those early years under Saban, like, you were pulling against Alabama winning a national championship. I'm curious if Saints fans, I know you would not want the Falcons to make a run and win a championship. Do you care as much about Tampa? I'm curious to see what the response is to that. I don't feel a lot of anti-Tampa vitriol day-to-day down here in South Louisiana, but maybe it exists. I'll tell you this. I said this a little earlier. Like, there are going to be a lot of people around the country looking at Tampa, the city, and the football stadium tonight going, where is this place? It's like 4 degrees where I am. Billings, Montana is like negative 27. And it's going to be freezing. I mean, Shreveport's about to be freezing for like 4 days. And Tampa's going to be like 65 tonight. Last place to get that Arctic blast. But it's a nice Monday to get some NFL football. 3:30 is kickoff in Buffalo, and the night game tonight on an ESPN and ABC will be Tampa and Philly. We'll see how those picks go tomorrow. I'll go ahead and give myself a grade. Trey Beal and his guys, Gulf Coast Office Products, leasing of your copiers and printers. And if you have an issue, like we know, like same thing goes to Guarantee or whatever your line of work is, most of us need the printer and copier to be working. Like, we can't function if those things aren't doing their jobs. And sometimes they malfunction. It's just part of the deal. If you have your lease through Gulf Coast Office Products, they will send somebody the same day. They will get you up and running quickly. That's part of the deal when you lease your machines through Gulf Coast Office Products. Yes, they've got great pricing. Yes, they've got great service. Yes, they've got fine products. They also service those machines eventually when something happens, because it's inevitable. We all fight that battle every single day with technology. So go to gcopnet.com, gcopnet.com, and see our guy Trey Beal, and let Gulf Coast Office Products help you out with your business needs. All right, it's a Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
It was a humid day, barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time just slips away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me. Like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me. Oh,
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Hey, look what I found!
The motivation I needed to live healthier.
My new favorite sport. I found my groove.
I found I'm part fish.
My second win when I needed it most.
I found more than a gym.
The affordable childcare this mom needed.
Time for myself.
We found our why.
Have you found yours?
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs.
Join us for the Tuesday edition of Live at Lunch. We're at Doe's Eat Place on Government Street in Mid-City. We're taking a look at the NFL playoffs, wrapping up the wild card weekend, and Andy Esco joins us from Vegas. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. weekdays on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Some breaking news coming across the wire here. Not exactly shocking news, but breaking nonetheless. Caleb Williams, USC quarterback, has announced on the final day that he will declare for the NFL draft today, the last day that underclassmen can declare early. And Caleb Williams has done that. After the whole dog and pony show of, hey, if we don't like the team that's got the first overall pick, we maybe decide to come back. We're not playing for this or that, trying to pull some strings. Inevitably, you make the decision that's the obvious one, and you go ahead and enter the NFL draft. The question is whether or not the Chicago Bears will select him with that pick. Feels like yes. It feels like, based on the decision that Chicago made to keep Matt Eberflus the head coach, to fire Luke Getsy, the offensive coordinator, that means that they're going to move forward with a new quarterback and new offensive coordinator. They're not going to give Justin Fields his third offensive coordinator in 4 years. That's just the guess here at this point. So you move on from Fields, you see what you can get for him, third-round pick, fifth-round pick, whatever the case may be, and then you draft the quarterback of the future, which would be Caleb Williams. Locally, this doesn't affect Jaden Daniels much. I guess if Caleb Williams did not declare for the draft and decided to go back to school, then we could have a different discussion of whether or not he becomes the favorite to be the first overall pick in the draft. That's not going to be the case. I still haven't ruled that out, by the way. I think it's possible over the course of this draft process between now and April that somebody decides that Jaden Daniels is the number one pick. I don't think it's the likelihood. I think it's the possibility. But we went through these scenarios last week of where the quarterbacks may fall now that we have the draft order. The Bears, we know, will pick first, and I think they will take a quarterback. Washington will pick second, and we're certain almost that they're going to take a quarterback. New England picks third, and it feels likely they will also take a quarterback. So, if you think that Jaden Daniels is one of the three first quarterbacks off the board in this draft, those are your landing spots. It's Caleb Williams, it's Drake May, it's Jaden Daniels. I don't think Bo Nix or Michael Penix makes the leap up to this point. And the draft can be crazy, and maybe one of these teams feels like, yeah, we're not just absolutely over the moon about Drake May or Jaden Daniels. We'll tough it out one more year with our King's ransom of picks, and they want to move back 3 spots and get the world for it. But that seems unlikely because Mac Jones and Sam Howell and Justin Fields don't exactly feel like the answer at this point, with obviously Fields being the closest of that group. So if you're an LSU and Saints fan, I think you're okay with Jaden Daniels going to Washington. And I'm certain you, as teams around the league go, you're okay with him landing in New England. Just didn't want him being in Tampa or Atlanta, or obviously Carolina's not going to make a pick there. You know, the Cardinals are at 4. They could move out. Chargers are certainly not taking a quarterback at 5. The Giants are right there at 6, and figure like they big money for Daniel Jones. Saquon Barkley probably walks. But you're not Tennessee's at 7, Atlanta's at 8. Like Atlanta's sitting there at 8. Bo Nix, is that where they're going? They're just not in a position to get to where you need to be to get one of these top 3 guys. And so I think as we look at it now, it feels like to me the chalk, the likelihood, the betting favorite would be Caleb Williams 1 to Chicago, Drake May 2 to Washington, Jaden Daniels 3 to the New England Patriots. Now, who's the head coach there at that point? Beats me. We'll see. Still no movement on that front that we know of. But as organizations go, it feels like that's as stable an organization that's picked in the top 3 in a while. Now, Joe Burrow went to Cincinnati, we know, and they were a disaster for years and years and years. And he stepped in, and along with that staff and the players they put around him, they reached the AFC Championship game 2 consecutive years. One of those times went to the Super Bowl. Things changed that quick. So a quarterback can transform things pretty quickly. I think number 9 down the road in I-10 did okay after Katrina. Washington was at one point a no-go. Do not go there. Now with a new ownership group, we'll see. And then Chicago, storied franchise, but a lot of that story has been based around really good defenses and mediocre quarterback play and offense. I'll continue to hold out hope that the Bears will take him and that one day I can go up to Chicago, catch a Cubs game, and Jaden Daniels playing quarterback. That would be pretty cool. Unfortunately, LSU plays a lot in September and October, so it becomes a little bit more difficult. But a man can dream that he could get both of those situations in one spot. Caleb Williams is going to be one of the first 3 picks in the NFL draft. He announces he will leave Southern Cal with 1 year of eligibility remaining. I wanted to get you a quick scoreboard rundown from the Southeastern Conference in terms of basketball on Saturday before we get out of here. Tennessee went to Athens, took care of their business. They win 85-79, falls 2-1 in league play. That was Georgia's first loss in SEC play. We'll see the Dogs here coming up shortly. Kentucky goes to Texas A&M, and A&M was 0-2 in the league, not playing well. Kentucky 2-0 in the league, was playing very well. That game goes to overtime, and A&M gets it done. Wade Taylor, preseason conference player of the year in the SEC, 31 points in that game. Reeves for Kentucky goes for 22. It was a really hotly contested game. 2 good teams, even though A&M hasn't played that way. And the Aggies do get their first Southeastern Conference win by beating Kentucky. Vanderbilt stays winless in league play. Chris Beard's Ole Miss Rebels beat them 69-56. We'll see Ole Miss in the PMAC coming up on Wednesday. Battle of the Columbias in Missouri. South Carolina wins in overtime against Missouri 71-69. South Carolina 2-1 in league play. Missouri now falls to 0-3. Here's the most shocking result and this has happened a couple of times now, which tells you it may not be coincidence. Florida hosting Arkansas, they beat the Hogs by 22 points. Riley Kugel scores 20 points in that game, 90-68 the final. Florida scored 46 in the first half of that game and then followed it up with 44 more in the second half. Arkansas got blown out by Auburn in Fayetteville. They go to Gainesville and get drubbed again. They are 0-3 in SEC play right now. And folks, like, this could continue for a little bit. They play Texas A&M in Fayetteville tomorrow. Then they play South Carolina, who they should beat, but who knows. Then they're at Ole Miss, who's a ranked team right now. Then they welcome Kentucky in. I would not pick them to win that game right now. At Missouri, at LSU, like, they'll get one eventually. Like, they're not going to – this team's not going to go 4-14 in the league, but they're off to a really crummy start at this point. And Eric Musselman's had a really good program that's continued to put teams deep into the NCAA tournament. Doesn't feel like that right now in Fayetteville. And the last result I'll talk about, Alabama beats Mississippi State 82-74. The Tide moves to 3-0 in league play. Mark Sears, 22 points in that game. Mississippi State and Chris Jans fall to 1-2 in league play, 12-4 overall. So that's your look around the Southeastern Conference on Saturday afternoon. They'll get things back rolling in SEC action coming up tomorrow. We'll get you ready for Florida and Tennessee, A&M and Arkansas, Missouri, Alabama, as well as Georgia and South Carolina. As I mentioned earlier, LSU and Ole Miss, the next game on LSU's schedule. That is Wednesday, 6 p.m. tip-off from the PMAC right here in Baton Rouge. Hope your MLK Day has been great, whether you've been working like us or got the day off to enjoy it. Hope you've done that. Got some bad weather rolling in, as we know. There's freezes coming in. I just got an email that my kid's school is closed for tomorrow. East Baton Rouge is closed for tomorrow. If you're looking for updates on road closures, school closures, all that kind of stuff, our friends over at Talk 107.3, our sister station right here under the Guarantee Roof, Brian Haldane, every single morning have you covered. So if you want to get up tomorrow morning, Brian will be on at 6 a.m. He'll be going through everything. He'll be talking with officials, getting your road closures and the like. So see our friends over at Talk 107.3 for all your winter storm updates. Stay warm, stay safe out there, and the kids will probably be home. A lot of take your kids to work days tomorrow. Me and my wife are trying to figure out what we're doing with our little guy coming up. So everybody stay safe and warm out there. Take a time out, come back and close things out. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is that website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. Maybe it's something simple. You just don't use the old porcelain tub. You don't have Myers Palmer splashing about at 6 p.m. every night, getting everybody soaking wet and having a ball. You're not taking baths anymore. Well, take that bathtub out. Tub to shower conversion. Take the tub out, put in a gorgeous glass walk-in shower. Changes the look, obviously, but also the functionality of your bathroom. Adds some value to your home as well when you eventually want to sell it. You can do the same thing on the closet side of thing. They can do big, full-scale, knock out a wall, create a new closet, or just use the space that you've got more efficiently. They'll make it more functional, and it'll be a beautiful finished product. I can promise you that. They will do it right. They will do it right the first time and leave the competition behind. It's our friends at One Bath and Closets. Check out that website, onebathandclosets.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Monday's AFR, presented by Relief Windows. We'll have the latest as Brian Kelly continues to fill out his staff and reaction from Tuscaloosa as Kalen DeBoer is the new head coach of the Tide. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Closing things up here, Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. They're always brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products, GCOPnet.com, GCOPnet.com. All your printing and copying needs, our guy Trey Beal, president over there at Gulf Coast Office Products, has got you covered. All right, back. Let's play some Take It or Leave It.
All right, first one that we've got here is U.S. Open champ Wyndham Clark is reportedly close to an agreement with Live Golf. Live has more star power than the PGA Tour. Take it or leave it.
It's really close now. I'll leave it, but it's close. And this feels inevitable that we're now heading one direction. These guys are going to take this last paycheck because they realize that this is about to come together, and they'll take the Live money and then they'll go wherever the top players are going and whatever that tour looks like eventually. I hate it. I don't like it at all. It makes me bummed out as a spoiled, rotten American sports fan who wants all of the sports catered exactly to me, that what we're getting here is going to be global and they're going to be playing all over the world and in weird, goofy times and weird, goofy formats in some sense, but they've got all the money. So there's nothing that me, the whiny American spoiled sports fan, can do other than just suck it up and deal with it. So it's probably a wise move for John Rahm and Wyndham Clark and some of these guys to take this massive fat check and get on with it and see when they come together. It compromises the tour for this year for sure, and that sucks, but it's over. I mean, Liv has successfully disrupted golf with an endless amount of money, and it's going to look a lot different in the next 5 years, which I hate. But here we are.
A Buffalo man was shoveling snow shirtless. Well, yeah, shirtless yesterday in the Bills Stadium. You would shovel snow shirtless for $200. Take it or leave it.
$200, I'm going to leave it. The question would be then what's would
your,
the dollar
your
amount
price?
that I'd go out there for 2 hours and shovel snow shirtless in Buffalo? I think it's not going to be astronomical. I hate the cold, and I don't really want to do manual labor either. That's not really my forte. I would do that for $1,000.
I would do it for $200.
Oh, I'm not doing it for $200.
I would do it. 2 hours, I can do it. Yeah, 2 hours.
Was it 2 hours? Is that
I
what we're
think
looking
so,
at? I
yeah.
was thinking closer to like 4, but
If it was 4, no. 4, no.
that's where you cut off.
Yeah, 4 is
I mean,
too
if that's
much.
a lot of snow in that stadium,
Yep.
I don't know how many people they have, and I thought they were using like blowers and stuff. I'm not a snow expert, as you might imagine.
I'm not either.
So I would imagine it's kind of heavy, kind of tiring, and really cold. Am I certain I'm turning down $700 to go do it? I'm not certain, but if we're gonna put a number, I know I'm going. If there's 3 zeros there, I'm definitely gonna go.
The Yankees will pay a record $31 million to star left fielder Juan Soto next season. Good move by the Yanks. Take it or leave it.
Take it. I mean, in that sport, it's always a good idea to spend money because there's no penalty for spending money other than more money. In the NFL, if you spend a lot of money, your penalty is you can't sign other players because there's a salary cap. Same thing goes in the NBA. In Major League Baseball, there is no penalty for spending a bunch of money except that, you've spent a lot of money, then you better spend more money on this luxury tax. So, yeah, the Yankees have a field that's tailor-made for left-handed power hitting, and he's a left-handed hitter who's got plenty of pop. So, yeah, great idea by the Yankees.
The low tomorrow in Baton Rouge, as we talked about earlier, will be 17 degrees. The high Thursday will be 66. Baton Rouge weather. Take it or leave it.
You take it.
I'll take it.
We only have to deal with 17 like once every 2 years, and we get a lot of 66 in December. I was in Shreveport over the weekend, played golf. Louisiana weather is fantastic. Love it. Love the fact that I'm playing golf in the winter and everybody else is shoveling snow and freezing as I sit inside all the time. And newsflash, I've been to Chicago and New York in the summer. It's real hot there in the summer. So, look, I know everybody gets cranky when it's humid in August and you don't like that. And everybody says, well, when's our fall? Well, it's fall when it's 66 outside in December. Or January. That's fall. I love it. I hate the cold. I like the fact that it's temperate down here and mild. So I'm not happy about 17. I'm not happy that my kids' school shut down, so we're having to deal with that. However, the positives in my eye outweigh the negatives, and that includes when y'all were all complaining because it was like 108 degrees all summer, and whatever. Doesn't change my life one bit.
All right, last one here. The Pelicans are playing the Mavs right now.
Yeah.
That game tipped at 1:30. By the way, it's halftime. They're tied 59-59, but 1:30 p.m. tips in the NBA. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it when you got a holiday. A lot of people not working today. A great time to get out and go to a game, or looking for something to do during the day. You're not really sure what to do on a Monday. Well, you got some hoops to watch. So we always watched NBA basketball on MLK Day when we got that off in college. Just a bunch of guys celebrating not being in school and watching some basketball. We always did that. So hopefully the Pels can get that one home. The Pels right now, my hope for the Pels is that they are going to play basically like 82 games, just pretty good.
Yeah.
Like they've had 2 years ago, they finished with that ridiculous flurry and got in. That's a hard way to make a living too, to expect that. And then last year, they went nuts in December, were awesome, and then the bottom fell out. Like they weren't ready, I guess, to just be a solidly good team. There was too much up and down. Now they've just kind of been pretty good for a while. They had a bumpy run there early in the season, but they've kind of straightened things out, gotten on the straight and narrow, and looks like things are going pretty well. So hopefully they can finish off the Mavs. Great trip out west for them. And hopefully they can finish it off against Dallas. I'm looking up at the the TV right now on ESPN. I'm glad to see that they're in Tampa instead of Buffalo. Now that's obviously predetermined because that's the ESPN game and that's where they're going to be. But a lot more comfortable in Tampa today than it is up there in Buffalo. I gave my picks a little earlier in the show. Gave you Buffalo laying the 10 points, and I'm going to lay the 3 with Philadelphia because everything that I can see and read tells me to go the other way. I'm told, based on the Bayou Ford chat, that the Otter is, in fact, on Tampa Bay. He thinks that's the right side. It probably is, and he certainly knows a lot better than me. But it's my show, and I'll make my own bad picks whenever I want to. That'll do it here for a Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show presented by Gulf Coast Office Products. We were all over the place today in terms of things that we talked about. A lot of times we keep things between the buoys with LSU and the Saints. We did a lot of stuff today. Talked to LSU Auburn and how that game shook out on Saturday as the homestanding, not the homestanding Tigers, our Fighting Tigers went to Auburn and could not get it done. I talked about the NFL weekend that was at 1:15. Koki Riley was with us. He's the new beat reporter for the Baton Rouge Advocate, talking LSU baseball. We covered a bunch of topics with Koki, from LSU starting rotation, Tommy White's health, what are they going to do with Cam Johnson, the young precocious freshman phenom, Lots of stuff with Koki. He had a sit-down Q&A with Jay Johnson last week. I thought it was very, very good and informative in the Advocate. So we'll start to have Koki on regularly as they get rolling with baseball. For those like, is it baseball season? They started practice today at Alec Box Stadium. So technically, kind of, it is baseball season. If we're going to celebrate in August when they report to fall camp, we can celebrate today as they're out there practicing with LSU baseball. So Koki was with us in hour number 1. Hour number 2, Matthew Bruny talking hoops. The LSU women lost yesterday in Auburn. We talked about that briefly, then touched more on the men and how their season has gone thus far. 2:15, my picks on today's NFL games. That starts in about 35 minutes. And then Caleb Williams declared for the NFL draft. What does that mean for Jaden Daniels and the rest of the NFL? That was at 2:30 before we played a little Take It or Leave It. Our show's always archived on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab. You can catch Off the Bench, Live at Lunch, Hunt Palmer Show, AFR, all of them archived each and every day in their entirety. You can also catch us on Spotify, Google, Apple Podcasts, wherever you find your audio. You can find us, search Hunt Palmer Show, like, subscribe, rate, and review. That'll do it here for Monday. Hope you're enjoying a little bit of time off or your day is winding down. We're back same time, same place tomorrow. Matt's about to drive you home on After Further Review. Stay warm out there. Stay safe out there. You've been listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, Live at Lunch, Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see